There's a version of you walking through life that isn't really you. Not entirely. She's familiar. She's functional. She knows how to smile, say the right thing, hold it together. She's the version people expect, the one who's always fine. But behind the performance is a question. Who would I be if I wasn't trying to be so good? You don't remember exactly when it started, but somewhere along the way, you picked up pieces of identity like armor. Be the helper. Be the achiever. Be the strong one. Be the peacemaker. Be the good daughter. Be the version that keeps everything smooth and everyone happy. You became so good at being who others needed you to be, but you forgot who you needed to become. And you didn't do anything wrong. You adapted. You survived. You did what was necessary to feel safe, loved, accepted.
Carl Jung said, "We all wear masks, and the time comes when we cannot remove them without removing some of our own skin." And maybe that's where you are now. You're waking up, not in a dramatic way, but in small moments. You hear yourself say something and wonder if you even believe it. You agree to something and immediately feel tension in your chest. You show up for people, but you don't feel present. You're starting to notice the mask. You're starting to question the script. You're starting to feel the ache of a life that looks right, but feels hollow. And that ache, it's not a failure. It's the beginning of truth, the beginning of clarity, the beginning of you. This video is for the ones who are quietly waking up from the life they were told to live, and gently stepping toward the one they were meant for. You don't have to rip it all apart, but you do have to get honest. Whose life am I living? Whose voice is making my choices? And who might I become if I finally let that go?
Before you chose who to be, someone else began choosing for you. Not always with bad intentions, often with love, but also with fear, with projection, and with wounds of their own they never healed. Maybe you were the oldest, so they made you the responsible one. Maybe you were the quiet child, so they labeled you easy. Maybe you had to grow up too fast, so they praised your independence, even when it was born from pain. And because you wanted to belong, you accepted the roles: the peacemaker, the achiever, the one who doesn't need much, the one who always smiles, the one who's always okay. And those roles, they helped you survive. They helped you avoid conflict, earn praise, feel useful, stay safe. But survival roles are not the same as selfhood. They're costumes, masks, scripts.
Carl Jung said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Because accepting yourself means letting go of who you were told to be. It means asking hard questions like, what did I have to become in order to feel loved here? What parts of me were never allowed to fully show up? Who might I be if I stopped performing?" Maybe you've never asked those questions. Or maybe they're starting to echo louder in your body than your mind can ignore. Because the roles start to itch after a while. Not because they weren't useful, but because they're too small now. Like shoes you've outgrown but kept wearing out of habit. And eventually, the friction becomes unbearable. Not always externally. Sometimes, everything looks fine on the surface. But inside, something feels off. A quiet discontent. A fatigue that rest can't fix. A sense that you're always on, even when no one's around. That's the cost of wearing a self that isn't yours. It's not just emotional, it's spiritual. And the longer you play the part, the more distant your real voice becomes. So if you're starting to feel that gap between who you are and who you've been pretending to be, you're not broken, you're just done performing. And that's not failure, it's freedom, beginning to knock.
It doesn't always start with a breakdown. Sometimes, it starts with a subtle ache, a tension you can't name, a sense that something isn't wrong, but nothing feels right. You're doing everything correctly. You're showing up, staying productive, being who you've always been, and yet, it feels like you're off script in your own life. That's the mask starting to itch. Not literally, but emotionally. The performance is becoming harder to maintain. The smile feels heavier. The yes sticks in your throat. The energy it takes to be fine is draining you faster than it used to. You start to catch yourself wondering, why am I so tired? When did I stop recognizing myself? Is this all there is? And it's easy to dismiss these questions. Easy to blame work, hormones, stress, the weather. But deep down, something sacred is trying to get your attention.
Carl Jung said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." And this is what that pain looks like. A slow unraveling of what's false. A gentle rebellion inside your own skin. You don't hate your life. You've just outgrown the version of you living it. And that's terrifying because the mask, for all its weight, also gave you structure. It gave you identity. It kept you safe. Who are you without it? What happens if you stop performing? What happens if you stop trying to meet expectations you no longer believe in? Will people leave? Will you disappoint them? Will you become unrecognizable, even to yourself? These fears are valid, and they're also a sign that your soul is waking up. Because the itch isn't just discomfort, it's invitation. An invitation to pause, to question, to breathe. You don't have to rip the mask off in one dramatic motion. You can just loosen it, bit by bit. You can tell the truth in small ways. You can say, "Actually, I don't want that." You can rest without apologizing. You can let silence replace explanation. And in doing so, you begin to meet someone who's been waiting beneath the mask all along. You, not the role, not the title, not the coping mechanism, but the human, the real one. And trust this, she's not lost, she's not broken, she's just been buried under years of being who you thought you had to be. Now she's ready to breathe. You can love the version of you who helped you survive, and still let her go. You can thank her, the achiever, the fixer, the quiet one, the always available one, and still say, "I'm done performing." Because survival isn't the same as selfhood. At some point, the performance that protected you starts to limit you. You begin to crave something deeper than approval, something quieter than applause, something more real than being the strong one. But that shift is scary, because we confuse consistency with character. We think, if I stop being who I've always been, who am I? Will I lose people? Will I seem fake? Carl Jung said, "We meet ourselves time and again in 1,000 disguises on the path of life. And sometimes, that disguise is your own identity. The one you've been wearing for so long, you forgot it was a mask. But here's the good news. You're allowed to outgrow yourself. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to want new things. You're allowed to speak differently, move differently, rest more, say less. You're allowed to break your own rules, the ones you made when you were just trying to stay safe. And no, not everyone will like it. Some people only know how to relate to the version of you who overextends, who never says no, who always bends. But their discomfort isn't your responsibility. Your growth is. You are not here to perform stability for people who expect you to stay the same. You are here to become, and becoming doesn't always look graceful. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it's slow. Sometimes it's one tiny act of honesty after years of pretending. But every time you let go of a piece of the performance, you make space for someone truer to take her place. The you who doesn't apologize for needing space. The you who says, "I'm not okay," without flinching. The you who shows up, not for validation, but from alignment. You don't need to earn this new version. You just need to allow her. Because outgrowing your old self isn't betrayal. It's birth. So, who are you when no one is watching? When there's no applause to chase, no expectations to meet, no role to perform? That's where the truth begins. Not in performance, but in stillness. Becoming who you truly are isn't about adding more. It's about shedding expectations, shedding habits. Shedding the identities that once kept you safe, but now keep you small. And here's what no one tells you. The return to yourself comes with grief. Grief for the years you spent pretending. Grief for the version of you that tried so hard to be lovable. Grief for the dreams that weren't even yours. Carl Jung said, "Your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. And the more you look inward, the more clarity begins to take root. You realize you don't want to be impressive. You want to be real. You don't want to be perfect. You want to be present. You don't want to be the version they expected.
You want to be the one you buried. And slowly, that version returns. Not loudly, not with drama, but with truth. She wakes up one day and says, I don't want to chase anymore. I don't need to explain myself. I'm not angry, I'm just done pretending. And from that space, you begin to rebuild. A voice that doesn't tremble when it tells the truth. A body that no longer flinches when it rests. A life that doesn't rely on praise to feel valid. This is becoming. It's tender. It's raw. It's not always comfortable. But it's real. You're not here to keep playing a part. You're here to write your own story. In your own voice. One page at a time.
You've been becoming all along. Even in the moments that felt like pretending. Even in the roles you outgrew. Even in the silence where you didn't have the words, but felt the truth. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly on time to meet the version of you that's been waiting to be seen. The one who isn't defined by roles. Who isn't held hostage by old narratives. Who doesn't live on autopilot, chasing the same gold stars that never satisfy. This time, you choose. You choose how you speak, how you show up, how you move through the world. Not to be approved of, but to be aligned.
Carl Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And now, you begin. No performance, no mask, no grand announcement. Like honoring the voice inside you that says, I want something else. You don't have to know exactly who you're becoming. You just have to trust that the version you're returning to, the real one, has always been enough. And if this video found you at the right time, if it reached the part of you that's been aching to breathe, leave a comment below. This time, I choose me. Let it be your soft beginning. Let it be your permission. Let it be the line where the old performance ends and the real you begins to speak. And if you're walking this same path of unlearning, unbecoming, and awakening, subscribe. This channel is for the ones who are done performing, the ones waking up from the life they were told to live, and choosing, quietly and completely, to come home to themselves. You don't have to explain. You don't have to rush. You just have to return. This time, you choose.